Welcome to the Broadway.com show, filmed right here in the heart of Times Square. I'm Paul Wontorek.
And I'm Imogen Lloyd-Webber. Today we chat with Thurman about the Parisian woman, sit at the piano with once on this island songwriters Lynn Ahrens and Stephen Flaherty, learn secrets of the Radio City Rockettes, and get glam with Wicked stars Jackie Burns and Amanda Jane Cooper.
And later, we sit down with Mary Michael Patterson of the Love Never Dies National Tour.
But first, let's get started with the news. What's the buzz, Paul?
Turn back time. Actually, we want to fast forward to July 20th, 2018. That's when the movie sequel to Mamma Mia hits theaters, and we've just learned that music superstar Cher has landed a role in the film. The music icon and Oscar winner will appear alongside old friend Meryl Streep in Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. Of course, the two powerhouses first appeared together in the 1983 film Silkwood. This time out, Cher will play the mother of Meryl Streep's character Donna and lend her signature vocals to some ABBA tunes on the big screen. All of this on top of getting ready to watch her life play out in the Broadway-bound The Cher Show. Cher's Twitter is about to explode with emojis, as is ours.
Paging Dr. Green. Anthony Edwards, who garnered 4 Emmy nods for ER, will appear as Mr. Franklin in Children of a Lesser God. Also starring Joshua Jackson and Lauren Ridloff, the Kenny Leon-helmed Broadway revival of Mark Medoff's 1980 play is set to begin performances on March 22, 2018 at Studio 54. That's not all this week's exciting casting news. Lee Pace will play Joe Pitt alongside Nathan Lane and Andrew Garfield in the Great White Way transfer of the National Theatre production of Angels in America. Directed by Marianne Elliott, Tony Kushner's epic play will start previews on February 23, 2018 at the Neil Simon Theatre. Meanwhile, main STEM vets Lindsay Mendez and John Douglas Thompson have been tapped for the roles of Carrie Pipperidge and the Starkeeper, respectively, in Rodgers and Hammerstein's Carousel. Directed by Jack O'Brien, the classic musical is scheduled to begin on February 28, 2018 over at the Imperial Theatre. And Eric Anderson is to take on the part of hotel manager Mr. Thompson in Pretty Woman the Musical. He'll be instructing Samantha Barks about the art of silverware and more in Chicago next spring before they, along with Steve Kazee, Orfeh and Jason Daniele, land on Broadway in the fall.
Wow, that's a lot of big fancy casting news. Need to catch your breath?
I'm fine.
You really covered the Broadway scene, but what's happening on the other side of the Lincoln Tunnel in Jersey?
I suppose you're going to fill us in, Paul.
Absolutely. We think you're going to love this casting. Tony winner Beth Level will play the delightfully dastardly Miss Hannigan in Paper Mill Playhouse's holiday production of Annie in Milburn, New Jersey. If that isn't already the best Christmas gift ever, she will reunite with her co-star from The Prom and Tony nominee Christopher Sieber, who will play Oliver Warbucks. Undoubtedly adorable munchkins Peyton, Ella, and Cassidy Pry will rotate in the title role. Directed by Paper Mill's producing artistic director Mark S. Hobie, the production is scheduled to run at the New Jersey venue from November 22nd through December 31st.
Maggie Gyllenhaal, Whoopi Goldberg, and James Earl Jones will bring plenty of heart to a special benefit performance of Damn Yankees on December the 11th at the Stephen Sondheim Theatre. George Abbott, Douglas Wallop, Richard Adler, and Jerry Ross's classic show follows Joe Boyd, who sells his soul to the devil to be the home run hitter that will guide his favourite team, the Washington Senators, to a win against those damn Yankees. Directed and choreographed by Kathleen Marshall, the Roundabout event is set to feature Gyllenhaal as Lola, with Goldberg as Applegate, and Jones as Mr. Welch. There's more than a little talent in this lineup.
Wow, you really did your homework with those song titles. Got any more up your sleeve?
You and I will be two lost souls if we can't get tickets to this one-night event.
I have no fear. Whatever Imogen wants, Imogen gets. Tree trimming, last-minute shopping, and live tweeting, a musical broadcast, all are essential Christmas traditions in 2017. Both Tony winner Jane Krakowski and Broadway alum Chris Diamantopoulos have joined the cast of Fox's A Christmas Story. Krakowski will play Miss Shields, Ralphie Parker's high-kicking teacher, while Diamantopoulos will play Ralphie's harried father. They join a cast that already includes newcomer Andy Walken as Ralphie, Maya Rudolph as Ralphie's mother, and Matthew Broderick as the narrator. The broadcast will air on Fox on December 17th.
Let's cross the pond. After a 15-year run, Stomp will end performances at the West End's Ambassadors Theatre on January the 7th, 2018. However, don't be too concerned. The creators are looking to reconfigure and remount the show, which continues to run off-Broadway at the Orpheum Theatre. We're also telling you that Broadway veterans Marisha Wallace and Moya Angela will share the role of Effie White with Karen Mav in the hit London production of Dreamgirls. The trio will play the role at different performances throughout the week at the Savoy Theatre. Amber Riley, of course, won an Olivier for her turn as the character. And Adrienne Warren will star as music icon Tina Turner in the world premiere of Tina the Musical. Featuring a book by Katori Hall, Frank Ketteler and Keys Prince, direction by Philodia Lloyd, and choreography by Anthony Van Last, the biomusical will begin performances on March 21st, 2018, with an opening scheduled for April the 21st at the Aldwych Theatre. London, you'll find out Tony nominee Warren is simply the best.
When we come back, we get into a holiday mood with the Radio City Rockettes, learn about the genesis of Once on This Island, chat with Wicked's leading ladies, meet the stars of The Parisian Woman, and more. This week on Broadway.com, get to know the stars of Anastasia as Derek Klena kicks off a new season of Show People. Christy Altomar reveals her backstage world on character study, and Caroline O'Connor and John Bolton sit down for a funny game of Never Have I Ever.
On the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass, I'm waving through a window.
Hi, I'm Derek Klena, and you're watching the Broadway.com show.
Welcome back. Once on This Island is getting ready to return to Broadway. We sat down with Lynn Ahrens and Stephen Flaherty, the longtime songwriting team behind the beloved musical, to hear their memories about creating the show and what to expect with a brand new production.
These are the first notes that I wrote for Once on This Island, and the entire score is infused with those couple of notes. And
when I first heard those notes, I immediately thought, oh, those are the prayers to the gods, and their names fitted perfectly on those notes. It was almost a miracle from the gods.
And from that came the opening number, then came the show.
Right.
Ogway, don't flood my garden.
Erzuli, who will my love be?
Papa Gay, don't come around me.
It's hard to believe that Once on This Island is coming back to Broadway
26
after
years.
26 years.
When we were originally working on the score, it became clear that the story it's not realism. It has real emotion, but it's has a heightened quality to the entire thing. So virtually all of it is sung, not all, but there's a sense of musicality throughout the entire evening. We knew that we didn't want to repeat the original orchestrations that we had, which were at the time, there was a lot of Fender Rhodes and a lot of these glittering pianos, which were like cutting edge, 1991 cutting edge. And we thought, let's strip it back. Let's strip a lot of the electronics away. Let's make it much more small rhythm section.
Director Michael Arden is putting a fresh spin on this show by stripping down the music and deepening the storytelling.
The sense of place has changed a little bit from the original. Originally, we thought of it we called it a mythical Caribbean island. And Michael has chosen to set it much more squarely in Haiti, after a disaster in Haiti.
And it came down to the idea of telling stories, what that really is about, what would happen, how would you tell your story if everything was taken away from you.
The score is being reconceived vocally and in some ways instrumentally, I think probably because of the trash instruments, or the trash instruments as they've been calling them. It will sound a little stranger and more contemporary in that sense. Thinking about bringing this show to a new generation of audiences, it's thrilling to think that, number one, we get to share a show we love so much with a new generation, but even more than that, there's this timely quality to the show in a world that's divided and that is in need of something to heal it as quickly as possible.
The Radio City Christmas Spectacular is the quintessential New York holiday experience. The show famously features the Rockettes and their flawless precision. Here's a sneak peek of rehearsal.
Rockettes have been at Radio City Music Hall since 1933. So we've really established such a Christmas tradition here at Radio City Music Hall.
Our iconic The Parade of the Wooden Soldiers has been around since 1933, and also our nativity scene, which is really special because we're performing exactly what Rockettes before us performs.
There's always something new to come see in the Christmas Spectacular. This year in particular, we've installed a brand new digital projection system.
And we also have Snow, which is a beautiful number where the Rockettes are snowflakes, and the whole theater is going to turn into a giant snow globe. Even if you think you may have seen it before, you haven't seen it this year, and there are new elements everywhere, new things to look at, and new surprises everywhere.
It may look as if all of the Rockettes are exactly the same size, but that's not the case. We learned that and more secrets of the kick line.
You're between 5'6" and 5'10 and a half, and we actually put the tallest ladies in the center, and they descend in size, so it gives the illusion that we're all the same height.
We actually don't touch each other when we're kicking, so you have to hold your body yourself. Yeah. So that's probably our biggest kick line secret.
Yeah, and each kick we do is eye high. So it's a little fun fact.
Everybody's different and their own person, but it's the dancing that we bring together to make look uniform. But when they're dancing, they still have to find some personal joy in there to come out in their own way while working within the confines of the choreography. It would absolutely not be Christmas in New York without the Rockettes.
Uma Thurman is starring in Beau Williams's The Parisian Woman, which begins on Broadway in November. We dropped by rehearsal to get an idea of what this new work is all about.
It's about characters all struggling with how to match their ambitions to their ethics in today's world from different points of view, and there's a whole lot of racy love affairs in the middle of it.
These are like real people, humans that make our hearts break, and also we think are hilarious and incredibly entertaining, and also like really asking hard questions about today and how do we put our best foot forward.
It's a comedy thriller. I mean, that's really what I'm taking away from it. And the rehearsal process as you go through this thing to discover this play that, yes, exists within the world of politics, but is about relationships and sex and manipulations between people inside love and inside ambition. It's got all these different things sort of bubbling within it.
Beau Willimon is known for creating the hit Netflix series House of Cards. And although The Parisian Woman is also set against the backdrop of DC power politics, the focus here is different.
I did, after the election, realize that there was an opportunity to address the major shift that's happened politically, culturally in our country and the world, and to place these characters in the midst of it.
Set in contemporary Washington. So we all know that's a pretty challenging place to explore private life.
I think a lot of people are sick of politics right now, and you're so inundated with it on the news. I think people are going to be very happy with coming to see this play, that it's not about politics. It just exists within the world of politics.
I was a fan of Beau's as a playwright before House of Cards, and then that just was, I became addicted. House of Cards is so dark, and that's the beauty of it. These are people that are destroying everything in their path. Whereas our play is a lot of the same kinds of people, but it's how they're trying to find their way, and some for good.
Oscar nominee Uma Thurman marks her Broadway debut with this production, and she has already impressed her more seasoned company.
Uma's the best. It almost felt like subconsciously I had written this play specifically for her. It just clicked. She got it. I sensed the energy. Of course, she's got incredible, vast amounts of talent and experience.
She came into it with this force of preparation and force of just creativity.
The cast is phenomenal. I'm so blessed. And I never leave the stage. I hope it's okay with everybody.
Wicked has been delivering fantastic leading ladies on Broadway for 14 years now. The show's current Elphaba and Glinda have a long history with the musical and are back in the iconic roles at the Gershwin Theater. We recently brought stars Jackie Burns and Amanda Jane Cooper together for a glam photo shoot and found out all about their special onstage connection.
Amanda is an amazing, generous actor who is always in the moment. So it's so fun for me because our show is always different every night because she'll throw me a curveball and I'll throw her a curveball and it's never stale.
If
If I could describe Jackie in one word, I feel like it would be electric. There's something that's always alive in you. She's such a generous actor, and it's so in the moment and giving and taking, and it's like this tennis game, and it's just electric. You know Elphaba so well, like you know who she is, but
still don't know what I'm doing.
Stop! God, that's not what I'm saying.
When I got the call asking me if I would come back, I was like, oh goodness, I was really scared. I'm so honored and happy to have this opportunity because I've grown as a person so much, and I feel like the last time I played it, although, you know, I felt like I did a good job, this time I'm older and I'm a better singer and know my voice and my abilities better so that I actually can sing the show and enjoy being immersed in it. I'm having such a great time. Like, I get to go out, I can still have a glass of wine, I can still have a life, like, you know, before I wouldn't talk, and it's like...
I have grown with Glinda, and Glinda has grown with me. I was away for about 4.5, 5 years, and so coming back to it on tour and now doing it here, it's like I've just learned so much and sort of come into more of the fullness of who I am as a person, as a woman. And so that journey that we see Glinda go on is certainly one where she steps into the fullness of who she is and really learns about what is important in life. And I feel very grateful to have gone on a journey very similar to hers over the past 5 or 6 years, so just bringing that into her gives me a deeper understanding. It's a huge gift.
Yeah.
It's a huge gift to be back.
When we come back, we go one-on-one with Love Never Dies tour star Mary Michael Patterson.
On the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass, waving through a window.
Broadway favorite Mary Michael Patterson is starring as Meg Giry in the touring production of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Love Never Dies, The Phantom Returns. Patterson recently popped into the Broadway.com studio to chat about playing the formidable role and why this Phantom of the Opera sequel is a must-see for theatergoers across the country. Mary Michael, we're so excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. I really want to dive in, learn about everything I can about Love Never Dies.
Absolutely.
But first of all, how excited were you to find out that you'd be playing Meg and do the North American premiere of this show?
I was very, very excited. Yeah, I did Phantom here in New York for a little while, and when I got the audition, I was a little bit, you know, confused, but I was excited because it's such a different kind of role, and she really gets to go on a crazy journey and express all kinds of emotions and sing all kinds of songs, and I was really, really excited about it. And the more I got to know it and the more I went in for the team, it felt like a really good fit. So it's exciting to get to do it.
I was going to say, you joined the Broadway production of The Phantom of the Opera, like in the midst of its 25th year, I believe it was celebrating, right? How is playing Christine for a long time and then to sort of switch over into the head of Meg, how has that process been for you?
They're so different. I mean, especially in Love Never Dies world, you know, we get to look more closely at the characters, and Meg Giry in Love Never Dies is very different than Meg Giry in the original. But it's really cool because it's still the same world, you know, it's still the same vocabulary and the same style, and musical elements are very similar in a lot of ways. So it's a fun challenge, and it's not something that I normally get to do. I do a lot of, you know, stand and sing and, you know, park and bark kind of roles, and Meg is very different. So she gets to dance a lot, which is something I was excited to do, and it's a little bit of a darker role, which is fun.
Well, and I want to get into that with you, but first, for anyone who isn't familiar with Love Never Dies, where do we pick up with Meg when we get started in this show?
Yeah, so it's 1907. 10 years have gone by since we've seen them at the end of Phantom.
Right.
And she is in Coney Island, and she is the lead showgirl, essentially, at the Phantom's vaudeville stage, essentially. And lots of different musical acts are performing, but she is the sort of head of that team. So she's, you know, she's a showgirl. She gets to do a lot of really fun burlesque style numbers. And that's kind of, you know, where she is. And then when Christine comes, you know, they get to see each other, which she's so excited about, and she hasn't seen her in 10 years, and they were the best of friends, dancing together in the corps. It's really exciting.
Yeah. And at the end of Phantom, if I remember correctly, Meg finds the Phantom's mask on his chair, so she's excited to have followed him here to Coney Island, right, and to be performing. And what's an asset of Meg's, or a quality of hers that in her maturing growth over those 10 years that you really admire about this character?
She's really resilient. She puts up with a lot, and she does it in good spirit a lot of the time, you know, and I think the Phantom is sort of a fatherly figure to her in a lot of ways, and she really wants to please him and do these numbers that he's written for her as best as she can. And so it's a really sort of heartwarming story about how we work hard for our mentors, and we do certain things for teachers because we so desperately want to please them. And I think that's a really admirable quality, and sometimes doesn't serve her. But, you know, it is still a lovely side of her. She's really dedicated and loving toward him and what he's created. So. And
I certainly don't want to give anything away, but Meg, as you mentioned, does have a very dark journey that she goes. What did you make of all of that as you were reading it and getting familiar of that? Were you surprised? Did it sort of make sense for you that this was the character's journey? Or
I think at first I was very surprised, but then the more I spent time with it, and with the amazing direction of Simon Phillips and sort of what we've talked about together in our rehearsal process, it's a story that we hear a lot, right? It's a story that makes sense, you know, and this sort of, she's been tossed aside and one too many times, and what that ends up creating in some animosity and some jealousy, and you know, we've seen that in stories time and time again. So it's fun to get to play that. It's a familiar story, but it's very deeply examined. Like, it's a really beautiful look at what people will do for attention, love, you know, all those things. So.
And since you've spent so much time in the head of Christine, and now you're getting to spend the time in the head of Meg, do you have a different appreciation for those characters on the other ends of those things, or is it hard to switch to, now I have to be super jealous of this? Is that challenging or fun?
It's very fun, yeah. Because I spent so long singing that music and being in her head. She's such a sweet character, but she's always at the center of it. You know, everything happens to Christine in the original and in Love Never Dies, really. She's sort of what brings everyone together. And so it's sort of this, she's almost like a magnet for the story. And it's fun to get to play a character that's more, I don't want to say more active, but a little bit more. There's more that she can kind of go through. It's less things happening to her and more she is, you know, driving the
And as
story.
Christine in Phantom, you have to spend so much time essentially not alone, but only with like one other person.
Totally.
You would leave the stage just before everyone else would come onto the stage.
And even in like dressing rooms, you know, you're on the other side of the stage in the New York theater, in the Majestic, so you only really see the Phantom and Raoul, and that's who you see on stage, and so it is very isolating. And Meg in Love Never Dies is totally different. She gets to do all these big, fun production numbers and see the ensemble.
She's part of this troupe.
And spend a lot of time with Madame Giry and even the Phantom. So it's really neat. It's much more, it feels more inclusive.
I think I've read somewhere that your favorite moment in the Phantom of the Opera was the Don Juan sequence, right? Like the opera within the opera. Is there a moment in this show that you're really excited for people to see? That it can involve you, it doesn't have to, but is there a moment that you're super excited for people?
I mean, the opening of Love Never Dies it takes my breath away. And I've seen it, you know, I saw it all through tech. I would sit in the house and watch it. But hearing the orchestra do what they're doing and then against that see what the actors are doing, it's one of those moments that I don't think people will ever forget theatrically. And then I think also the final scene, which I will not give anything away, but it's such a, the stakes are so high, and it's beautifully played by everyone in the cast. And so I think that they'll leave feeling satisfied by that.
When audiences across the country come out to see Love Never Dies, The Phantom Returns, what kind of a night are they in for? What kind of experience are they going to have at that theater?
Oh, it is 2.5 hours of romance, and in the best way. Not in a sort of sappy way, and not in a surface level way, but it's really a close examination at love, and I think it's really a needed piece of theater right now, because it sort of reminds you, it leaves you with this beautiful thing of, at the center of it all, we should just be loving one another.
Right.
And for all of our flaws and faults and differences, which I think is just such a beautiful message, and I think it will reach people all across the country in different ways, but I think it's something that everyone understands at their core.
And spending a night with the freaks.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly. And it's dark and
yeah.
it's funny. I mean, there are funny elements, and so I think they're going to get a little bit of it all, and I'm excited for people to get to see it.
They're in for a great treat. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you go see Love Never Dies, The Phantom Returns with Mary Michael Patterson and their whole incredible cast. Tickets are on sale. Thank you so much again, Mary Michael.
It's a pleasure.
Good luck.
Coming up, we get in the groove with Dear Evan Hansen's current and future stars Ben Platt, Noah Galvin and Taylor Trench.
On the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass, waving through a window.
Hey, I'm Sarah Bareilles, and you are watching the Broadway.com show.
Thank you for watching the Broadway.com show.
We leave you with a look at Dear Evan Hansen Tony winner Ben Platt getting down with the actors succeeding him in the role, Noah Galvin and Taylor Trench. What a way to pass the torch.
See you next week.